Dr.
ASAP
Julius.
Science. Welcome.
Guys.
We have a young audience. We have YouTube followers. We have about 10 million that
We're
love
science communicator YouTubers.
Why don't you give them a quick synopsis of who you are and what you're being awarded for tonight?
My name is David Julius. I work at the University of California, San Francisco, a great place. And I'm being awarded for the work that my lab has done to understand how we sense pain, painful stimuli, and how that happens normally to protect us, and how it changes when you have things like injury that lead to chronic pain syndromes.
So I would love to know about that moment when you were when you were looking at hot sauce, right, or hot chili peppers.
Right.
Yeah. So what kind of made you go from that moment to then your actual research? Like, how did you connect the two?
Oh, well, the connection was not made by us, but was really made by scientists in Hungary decades ago. Paprika is a big thing in Hungary, and so they're studying the pungent ingredients, capsaicin, and they made the observation that, well, we all know from our own experience that when you eat a hot chili pepper, you're in pain. Mm-hmm. So some people think that's a taste response, but it's a pain response. Mm-hmm. And you know that because if you chop a chili pepper and stick your finger in your eye, that's not taste. It's pain.
Right, yeah, that truly is pain.
So, and they realized that pungent ingredient, capsaicin, is a very selective agent for activating nerve fibers that are involved in pain sensation.
Okay.
And then that thing that observation sort of stood there for a while, and really the holy grail, the question was to ask if there's a specific place where capsaicin works on the nerve cell, specific protein, and if so, what does it look like? And so we use some sort of genetic trickery to identify what we call the receptor, or the protein to which capsaicin binds on the nerve terminal and initiates its pain-producing effects.
The TRP channel, right?
TRP channel.
Yeah.
Studied. We have two questions that our audience wanted to ask of all the scientists that come through here. The first one is, given that you sort of study the world in a very unique way that many people don't get to see, like in such a microscopic way, how does that impact your view on the meaning of life at a larger scale?
Well, let's go. Meaning of life, baby.
Yeah, well, that's a big question. I think about what all this stuff really comes back to most of us as biologists is the beauty of evolution, and how all these proteins have evolved to take on these very beautiful functions through this long process of evolutionary selection. And so when I think about the meaning of life, at least at that level, I think about it as sort of a continuum of how we're all connected on the planet through this process of evolution, and that's particularly interesting in sensory systems because, as you know, different animals see the world in different ways.
Yeah.
And that's all dependent upon our sensory systems and how they're engineered. So, for example, a honeybee sees light in different wavelengths than we do. Some animals, like a pit viper, can sense infrared radiation as a heat map. Things we can't do, and then we do some things those animals can't do. So the cool thing about studying sensory systems and when we work on these molecules is you really appreciate how the world to us is sort of a construct of what we can detect. And other animals, for them, the world is completely different. And I think that's a very cool thing.
Because you could rub capsaicin maybe on another animal and they wouldn't react.
Well, birds are not sensitive to capsaicin, so that's why when you buy bird seed and you want to keep the squirrels out, sometimes it's sort of tainted with capsaicin dust or pepper, dust, and that's because the birds will eat it, but the squirrels won't.
Okay, that is a take-home. There you go.
We have one last question. Do you want
to? Yeah.
So
our young audience is very concerned about the climate crisis and wanted us to ask scientists just what is something that you think we can do, or what do you think is science's role with the climate crisis and dealing with climate change right now?
Yeah, the climate crisis is, and this hits home last week in California, and we have all these wildfires. The climate crisis is probably the biggest thing facing us because we have limited time. And I think we all have to have a mindset, well, I think it's a government issue. It's not going to be solved by each one of us deciding, well, we're going to turn the lights off a little bit. But that's what we can do personally. And we can make decisions about, how we use fossil fuels, how we don't live to excess. I think for scientists, for those of us, we should travel less and fly less. And but I think we have to advocate, we have to go to the ballot box, and we have to elect people who know that climate change is as serious a matter as anything else. And so being educated, keeping up with the news, not listening to stuff that's not supported by fact, and voting. That's what we can do.
Thank you so much.
Have an amazing
night.
Have
a great night. See you on the dance floor. Yeah.